cycle, 3-year cycle of the church's lectionary, this was the text 12 years ago, 2009, and now comes my confession. On that same day, I reflected on that text with you. So we are again with the same text. I am trying to give it a new twist, but some will be the same, and hopefully, most likely, you've forgotten about it anyway. Manna on the menu. Our story is about manna this morning. This elusive, puzzling, white stuff that the people of God in their wanderings in the desert found one morning on the ground and said, "What is it?" Manhu in Hebrew, manhu, from which the word manna is derived. They were hungry. Oh boy, were they hungry, and they complained. Oh, we wish we were back in Egypt where we had meat and substantial meals, even though that meant slavery and deprivement. They wanted it back. And Moses says, now don't complain, just wait. You will get what you need. And then one morning, indeed, there was the white stuff on the ground. As we said, elusive. 1 minute it was there, made visible by the dew, but when the sun made the ground hotter, it evaporated. It had to be gathered quickly, just enough what they needed for the day. A meal on the run, not a leisurely sit-down dinner. No planning, no storing, no worrying, just what was available for the day. Is that enough? When manna is on the menu, it's not a well-presented meal. It doesn't look very appealing. It's just the one thing you get, just one item, but that you need desperately. There is no pretty picture here. Is it possible to see in the not so appealing things a gift from God? When manna is on the menu, it's not food labeled telling you what's good for you, what might not be good for you. With manna, you get what you get, but you really do not understand what you are eating. It's unexpected, unexplainable, mysterious, but it sustains. Can this bewilderment possibly sustain us? When manna is on the menu, you do not open your place of storage, your pantry, your fridge, your cooler, and help yourself. You have to wait for the morning, confident that it will be there. Can we be patient and wait for the morning? Manna is a metaphor, as elusive as it might be, that sustains us. I have a little riddle here just for fun. Actually, it's a satire, and I want you to take it with tongue-in-cheek because satires are always overstated. Well, there was a poll conducted by the United Nations for all countries of the world, and the question was, please tell us in all honesty what your opinion as to what the solution might be to the problem of nutritional food shortage in the wider world. Please, in all honesty, your opinion, nutritional shortage in the wider world. Now, these were the answers given by several countries. Africa did not know what nutrition is. Eastern Europe does not know what honesty is. Western Europe doesn't know what shortage is. The Chinese do not know what honesty is, what opinion is. Sorry, the Chinese do not know what opinion is. Latin America doesn't know the word please. The Middle East does not know what solution might be. And the US does not know about the wider world. Well, the latter definitely is not true. We do know about the wider world. Well, back to the manna story. For those among us who want a more scientific explanation of what that white stuff was, scientists tell us that it was sap, secretion from the tamarisk tree, dropping at night, visible through the dew, and then evaporating under the rising sun. Others thought it was a secretion of large insects that fed on the tamarisk tree, producing small cakes enough for one day, and the next day would bring more. That is supposedly the natural explanation, but what is much more important to us is the theological implication. Who is this God who gives manna, and who are we to have only manna? To recap earlier points, 1, manna on the menu is having a meal on the run. I don't mean the run rate, the rat race, the panic for resources, running. What I'm proposing is that a meal on the run can never make us complacent, make us tired and sluggish like after a rich and heavy meal. Rather, partaking of manna strengthens us for the race to be run. Here, the church is being strengthened. We need it. We so much want this church to survive. So can we partake of the gifts we have, use the assets we have, the talents, the goodwill that we all do have? So we gather what we have, what we are good at, and run with it. How good is it to tell others that we have manna and that manna is good for us? Some small church came up with a marketing punch that goes like that. Don't drive to a church far away. Come to your neighborhood church. You can walk. You can save gas and lessen the carbon emission to boot. I wonder if there could be manna on the ground if the Earth's temperature keeps rising. I wonder if manna can survive in our climate, in the climate of the church. I know we are hungry, so let's not let our gifts go to mush. God is leading us to a new space, a new time. Let us go forward. 2, when manna is on the menu, we are puzzled. We realize we do not know anything. We ask, what is this? Manna, what is this? Is it any good? Is it good for us? It certainly is not very appealing. We are used to good-looking food. So I'm heartbroken. I am disappointed. I argue with what's before me. But maybe these not so welcome occurrences in our lives can be seen as gifts from God. At times, God shows us in puzzling ways what is good. After World War II, America gave Germany the stuff to make bread, except they sent us cornmeal, and we didn't know what to do with it. Some bakers figured out how to bake bread from this stuff and turned out this yellow, moist, sweet, delicious bread. When we picked it up, it was still warm, and we bit into it and ate half of it on our way home. And we loved the stuff, and we started loving the Americans. Now, this story I've told you before. Post-World War II was hard. We were often hungry and cold, and we children would gather along the railroad track to wait for a coal car to come by, and some pieces of coal dropping to the ground, and we scurried, picked it up, put it in our sacks, and ran home, just enough to heat a kitchen for one night and to cook a meal. One afternoon, we were again there waiting for the coal train, and a passenger train came by. The windows were open, and out of the windows waved soldiers, American soldiers, lean and tall and shiny faces and crew cuts, and smiling with the whitest teeth I've ever seen. And they waved and laughed and threw goodies onto the ground. And we scurried, and what was it? Oranges and peanuts and chocolate and gum and candy. And we couldn't gather it fast enough and put it into our coal sacks. But not long enough. A woman came by, slapping the goods out of our hands and shouting, "What are you doing picking up this stuff? Don't you know it is coming from the hands of those who bombed our cities and killed our sons and fathers and husbands?" We were scared and ran away, still picking up some stuff as we could. And I sat hiding in a bush and ate some chocolate, which was very sweet, but also quite bitter. How are we ever going to have peace when this hand slapping prevails? Can we be at peace? Strange the goods that come before us, but we gather to be made glad. 3, when manna is on the menu, there is no want, no worry for a day, for every day. The people gathered enough for one day. And on the 6th day, they were allowed to pick up stuff enough for 2 portions, because on the 7th day, they were asked not to cook or not to gather and not to bake, but to worship. So the grinding of the week ended in a time of thanksgiving and of worship. We are here on the 7th day. After a week, yes, of work and grinding, we are here to give thanks. A friend tells me that she got hooked on a church because on the day that they celebrated communion, they also announced that church folk that afternoon would go to serve a meal to residents of a homeless shelter. From this table, we are moved to fill other tables. In the gospel lesson, Jesus speaks about manna. Bread is a metaphor here. I am the bread of life. Bread has been the basic food substance for thousands of years. It's an art, or should we say a chemical triumph. The dough is rising, trapping gases in small pockets, hardening and made permanent by heat. There are many laws and rituals around bread, political and social. Bread as bait, as bargaining chips, as powerful tools holding out over the people of need, signs of wealth and power. Bread is also the most basic good for the world. It nourishes the poor and the rich. It goes with everything. It is communal. Just a reminder of what Isaac and I shared. Jesus was born in the house of bread, Bethlehem. We celebrate this Jesus becoming stuff of which we are made. We celebrate it at Easter, at Christmas, at Easter when the strangers finally joined them for a meal in the inn and they said, "Stay with us." And they recognized him in the breaking of the bread. As we eat this bread, we become Bethlehem, houses of bread, living, walking, working, houses of bread. Bread is good for the body. Breaking the bread is good for the church. Breaking it so everyone has a piece. Manna turning unwelcome happenings into sweet gifts. It is good to partake of the manna with you this morning. It is good to break bread with you, recognizing Jesus and one another. We become Bethlehem. Christ is born in us today, rising, becoming permanent. When it is manna on the menu, we together figure out what is good for us. Take and eat and be a house of bread. Amen.